Hello and welcome back to DriveDriverDriven. I'm Humble and we're back on the Blunicorn project today. This time we're doing, let's call it some aero detail work on the front end. Basically where we left off is we got the nose put on the car, we got the front bulkhead area buttoned up. So now what we have to do is start applying some of the aerodynamic assets to the nose of the car. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So there we have the nose all open up. As I mentioned before, we got the front all buttoned up, got everything set up in place more or less. Few things left to terminate. Really what I wanted to do is get the nose put on the car and start on some of our aero mods. So the first step was just getting this radiator exit divider put into place. Super simple job. I didn't think it needed filmed, but basically there's a screw that goes in on this side and one that comes in up top up here. The easy way to just line everything up is just put some tape down, draw your outline once you get everything centered here. Ditto for this, put a little bit of tape down, and then you can put little marks on the sides here just to line up the screw hole on your tape. Same with this down here. Drill a hole where those would go through. And then on the back side, you can see I've got a couple M5 screws that hold that into place. And that's it. That's all there is to it. It's a super easy job. The only thing I had an issue with is the bolt head that comes in down here. It's just really tight to come at underneath. I haven't decided if I want to put the grill mesh in here just yet, or leave it open, mostly because when I'm on the track or when I'm opening the nose, it's really convenient to grab the nose here or by the sides here and then pull up directly nice and centered. It's just easy to open the nose that way. And then likewise, you can reach through here and get to the brace, just pop it down really quick once you've got the nose opened. And I kind of like that, again, just for track use. It's something I can get to very easily, so I may just leave it without the mesh installed. The other thing we have to do is mount our dive planes. So this is one of the dive planes in place already. What I wanted to do is do the YouTuber cheat, get one of them installed, see how easy it is or hard. And it's not too bad, actually, and I'm going to take you guys through the process. There is a little bit of work that I did ahead of time that I would suggest you do as well. Here's the other dive plane, and it's hard to show on camera, but there's 4 holes drilled already. What I did is I started up here on the end, and then down here on the other end. I drilled those holes first, and then I just measured in about 5 inches from each to locate our center holes. They're not exact, they're not perfect, but they seem fairly equidistant to me, not that anyone's gonna care. And then I did my best to copy one side to the other side just by holding up next to each other and then marking the drilled areas. Doesn't have to be perfect. What you really want is to have them as evenly spaced as you can, just to distribute the aero load as evenly as you can. So the next step here is we need to locate where this sits on the fender, what angle, what height, etc. In the manual, they provide those instructions to you. And what we want is we want the forward part down here about 10 centimeters up off of this bottom lip, and then in the back we want it 27. So what we're going to do is put down some tape roughly where we think the edge of that is going to fall, and then we can start to put down our measurement. So like I said, the rear about 27 centimeters, and then on the front it's going to be right around 10, and it'll take a little bit to kind of find your angle to get everything set right. But this profile will only line up in this on this section of the nose in a couple orientations, but the correct one, you'll have it line up with a 27 centimeter line back here and a 10 down here. So we just want to get it kind of close right now so we can see where to lay down our tape on the forward part of the nose. Next up, we want to try and line up where our holes are. All right, and now we're going to mark our 10 centimeter line up on the nose here. All right, now that that's set, what we want to do is line up both of those marks, and then we're going to mark our first hole on the dive plane up here on the edge, and then quickly I want to see what the depth is from this point back to the edge of our wheel opening, our wheel arch, so that I can match that from one side to the other. All right, so on the passenger side, it's set pretty close to the edge, about the width of the end of the pen. And now that we have our height set and everything looks good, we're gonna mark our first hole. All right, time for the first hole and the first piece of hardware. And we're just gonna use this first screw to hold this end in place. And then before we drill any more holes, we're gonna verify our fitment, make sure everything looks good. All right, now we're gonna drill our remaining holes. All right, now that we've got all of our holes drilled, we can remove our tape and install the dive plane for the last time. And each of these has, I believe this is an M4 nylock nut that holds it in on the back side just to secure it to the nose. And there we go. Let's clean up our mess, put the nose down, and admire our work. We got both of our dive planes installed. You can see it fits up nice here on the side, on the edge. Looking down, it follows the profile of the splitter very nicely. Likewise on this side, everything looks good. They're nice and sturdy. They will support an Aero load. Never mind the clamshell not closing. The latches aren't installed just yet, so there we have it. It's coming together, looking more and more like an amazing automobile. Next up, we're gonna have to get our hood latches installed and get our lights done up. Let's see about getting our grills installed, because we're gonna have to let those dry before we can do the rest. And that is a little grill that sits over the fan area here that is just bonded into place. So we'll do that really quick. All right, we're just gonna focus on one of the lights here. So previously I pointed out there's a little grill here that we have to glue in, but there's actually several things that we're going to need to do in the headlight area, some of which we've already covered on the window and glass period, which is we have to prep this outside area for the adhesive. We have to clean everything here, make sure we get all of the Kumo hair, because once this bucket is sealed, there's no really getting back in there, at least not easily. You can remove the light just in case, but it's much easier to do the best job now. We're gonna have to make some templates on our lights, which I'll get to in a little bit. But first, what we need to do is it'll be easiest if we prep this outside surface with that primer. And to do that, we're going to need to tape up and protect our carbon fiber bucket here. And then we're also going to have to tape the outside here to protect the body outside of the light area. So I'm going to do that really quick and discuss the next steps after that. I've got our light cover in place, and if you notice, I actually had to undo some of our tape across the top here, and that is for our next step. Basically what you need to do is take your fine line tape, and this stuff will go around corners much easier than like this paper tape here. And what we want to do is we want to follow this edge all the way around. Basically, it's the flange that the light cover sits on and is glued to, but you're going to take this fine line tape and follow it all the way around until you get up to this top section. And here at the top, what we want to do is instead of keeping a tight line up to this top flange, we're going to bring that down so it's right above where our turn signal light is. And we'll have these nice kind of rounded corners here that tie into the sides on either side. And what that does is it leaves kind of a larger eyebrow up top, but then a nice kind of thin bezel all the way around the rest of the light to cover up where we're actually going to be gluing. Now the reason we're doing this is we're going to do this on the front cover and then copy those lines on the back side of the cover, because we're not painting the front of the lens, we're actually painting the back side. But what we're doing is we're just doing this outline to give us an idea of where we need to tape off on the back so that we can get all that painted and primered up. So got the cover back off, redid our tape job up here. Getting ready for our beta prime. This is that primer that we use to set up these edges. I've already gone and wiped down the flanges here, and if I grab the camera, I've already got our headlight covers prepped, and I'm going to do my best to shoot this and stay out of the way, but it is kind of hard, so good luck us. All right, now there is a little bit of a trick to this that I can share. You have these little swab brushes, and this primer is pretty thin actually. So what I find is dab the brush in the primer first and then just press it up on the edge of the bottle to try and get as much of the excess out as you can before you start applying it to the flange. And that'll help prevent runs. And again, just start on the side first. That way you can sort of control the run, and then when there's less in your applicator, come up to the top and you're less likely to have runs down the body. And as you can see, just one dunk in the primer goes pretty far. All right, and make sure you get any thin spots, and that looks good. So now I'm going to move on to the other light. And then the same trick with our headlight covers. Dab as much of the primer out of the applicator as you can, and then start with the larger areas up here in the eyebrow to get most of the run potential out of the brush, and then start going down the sides. And we actually have more surface area to cover here, so it may take a little bit more. I recommend laying down a white cloth. It's hard to tell from the angle the camera is sitting at. The white cloth allows you to more easily see thin areas, especially on the headlight covers. That's going to be very important, especially up here in the eyebrow area, because you want a nice even black coverage, because anything below might allow light to spill through, and there's not really a good opportunity to come back and fix that later. The other thing I'll mention is this stuff sets off pretty quick. It gets tacky pretty quick. So going over for a second coat for touch-ups, you can do pretty quickly. And again, it's better to do this all once while you have the bottle out, while you have your applicator brush wet. You can just give everything a second coat on the headlight covers. Again, make sure you get that nice inky black surround. All right, and that's it for our primer. So here's a nice good look at our handiwork. It's going to take a little bit for that to set off, and then we'll remove the tape. Likewise for our headlight surrounds here. We'll wait for those to dry off. As you can see, well, it's a little hard to see through the camera, but I can already see it's getting pretty dull in some of these areas, which means the primer is already drying up. Before we do any gluing to that primer, I'm going to let it set for 24 hours. And that way we can be sure that the body is dry and that our headlight covers are dry. And that way we have an optimal bonding surface when we put our glue in. I'm going to wait a little bit longer before I pull the tape on the headlights. But one thing I would like to do is glue in the little grills that go down here before we call it a day today. And the reason is the urethane needs to cure and dry before we put the headlight covers on, I don't want there to be a chance of like outgassing or anything like that that could possibly fog up our headlight covers. I'm not sure if that would happen or not. I'm taking precautions. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this tape, and then we'll pull the grills out and come up with a plan of attack on how we want to glue those in. So I have my bond and seal ready here, and what I'm thinking is I have some tweezers here that I'm going to try and set this grill in place with. But what I'm going to try to do is down on this bottom lip is very carefully try to put a small bead of that bond and seal in, a little bit down the side here, and then a little bit just below this lip on top, in hopes that I can slip the grill in and gently push it into place. And we'll see how it goes. My hope is that I can slip it down over this top area and just catch the bottom down here to minimize any smearing or anything like that, and to try and keep all of the bond and seal just on the inside, with no visible like bits that squeeze out through here that would come up around the edge of the grill itself. The tricky area is going to be down over here in this side to keep it out of the fan. Speaking of fan, I noticed while I was working here that it came loose. So once I'm all done with the headlight, I'm gonna have to pull the headlight cover from the back side, and I think while I have the bond and seal out, I'm gonna bond this guy in place from the back side, because it looks like the glue that was holding that in had failed. All right, looks like a little bit came through the grill here. I'm gonna do my best to scrape off everything that came through to open up the pores of the mesh again. Pull out any Kumo hair that I see. I'm gonna add a little more back in this corner. I'm not satisfied with how it's coming up. All right, that's gonna do it for that side. Lather, rinse, and repeat for the passenger side. All right, so our grills are in. You can see that extra little bead of sealant that I added in there. Here's our passenger side. Same thing. I had to put just a little extra bead around to help push it against the headlight bucket. So now we're gonna wait for those grills to cure. Pretty much the primer has set, so I'm not too worried about it right now. Ditto for our headlight covers. These are fairly dry, but I'm going to wait 24 hours before we glue these up. I am going to probably remove the tape now before everything sets up for good. I think that's going to be a good place to stop for the moment. So got a lot done today. Some of this stuff you've already seen before, which is the primer and the prep for the headlight lenses. Same thing we did for the windows and the glass. If there was something that I skipped over or didn't cover enough of for the doors and window, hopefully you got to see it a little bit better this time around on the headlight lenses. So with that, next time around, we're gonna see about gluing those headlight covers into place, and then see about installing our body latches for the front clamshell. I've got a couple more Aero catches to go on to hold that down, and our list is getting shorter and shorter by the day. With any luck, I'll actually have this car out driving for my birthday, which will be kind of a nice present. So that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.